Started, sir.
We will wait for 1 minute for the participants to join.
Okay.
We will start, madam. Let the participants join in the meantime. Yeah, happy evening to all of you. Welcome to today's meeting on valuation. Valuation, the process of determining the value or worth of an asset or property. It's an essential aspect of many business and financial transactions, such as mergers and acquisitions, sales and purchases, and property investments. Valuation involves various techniques and methodologies such as market analysis, income capitalization, and cost approach. Valuation is also used for financial reporting purposes, such as the preparation of financial statements and tax returns. The valuation process helps to ensure that assets are properly valued and that the financial statements accurately reflect the value of the business. We have with us CA Hemant Kumar sir, who will handle today's session on valuation. We welcome you, sir. We have also with us our first women vice chairperson of SIRC, CA Adyam Geeta, madam. Namaskaram, madam. Madam Adyam Geeta is a practicing chartered accountant with over 20 years of professional experience, specialized in direct taxation and auditing. Her contribution to the CA profession and CA fraternity are noteworthy. She has served in various positions at Bengaluru branch of SIRC of ICAI, one of the largest branch of SIRC coming under mega category, for which she served as the first chairperson during the year 2017-18. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Her journey from the branch level to the regional level is phenomenal. Presently, she is the vice chairperson of SIRC, and next year, history will be created by Geeta ma'am by becoming the second women chartered chairperson of SIRC after a gap of 65 years. After CA Shivabhogam madam, who served as the first chairperson of SIRC during the year 1955 to 58. That is why Geeta ma'am is fondly called as Chinna Shivabhogam, or the second Shivabhogam of SIRC. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining with us today. We will start today's proceedings with the invocation of ICAI motto song as a mark of respect to our mother institute.
Yaesha supteshu jagrati, Yaesha supteshu jagrati, Kamam 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 pursho nirvimanaha nirvimanaha, Tadeva shukram Tada Brahma, Tadeva Mritamucchate, Tasmin Lokaha, Shataha, Sarvetaduna, Yadi Kaschan, Etadvaita, 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 Etadvaita.
Thank you. May I now request CA Adyam Geeta ma'am to deliver her welcome address.
Thank you, Rahman, for your kind introduction. But definitely, I am not, I don't know. நீங்க வந்து ரொம்ப பெரிய பெரிய வேர்ட் எல்லாம் யூஸ் பண்ணீங்க அந்த மாதிரி ஒண்ணு கிடையாது. Just I'm a vice chairman of SIRC. So esteemed speaker of today's program, CA Hemant Kumar, my dear professional colleagues, happy evening to one and all present here, and welcome you all for today's session on valuation. So of late, the opportunities for practicing chartered accountants may vary depending upon various factors, such as economy, changes in economy, industry, and specific services being offered. And in general, however, it is unlikely that the opportunities for practicing chartered accountants are getting diluted for various factors. It may be due to technological factors or policy changes or many other factors. So valuation is one of the area which where all one may look into. And more so, our profession is becoming more competitive with more professionals entering in the field every year. So to remain competitive, chartered accountants may need to adapt their skills and services to meet the changing client needs and expectations. So in today's session, we will discuss about such a new venue of practice for practicing chartered accountants, that is valuation. So today we have chosen this topic in a broader manner, just to create an awareness about what is valuation first. So I, being a registered valuer, I often receive so many queries from the members. They ask us about what is the scope in valuation, what are the opportunities we get once we complete the valuation, how to go about that. So what are all the areas we are looked into, how the subjects will be, what is the exam pattern. So many queries they used to post to me. So that's what I thought of having, we thought of having at least one session of creating an awareness. That is what we coined this session as, just as a valuation, not in particular subject in valuation. Broadly, it's a valuation. So we designed today's session in such a way that I pose certain questions to speaker on behalf of our members. And members also, if they have any doubts, any queries in between, they can put it in the chat box. And at the end of the session, speaker will address all the queries. And if any queries, if you need to ask me also, you can send it in chat box. So with this, we will start the session. Before starting the session, I request Rahman to read out the introduction of our speaker. So that, he will be briefly introduced. Most of Hemant Kumar doesn't need any introduction, because most of the valuation, wherever if we see valuation speeches throughout India, so many places we can identify him with the valuation topics. So I'll request now the Rahman to introduce our speaker.
Yeah. Thank you very much, madam. Now I got to know you yourself is a registered valuer. You have set a good start for today's program through your welcome address. Thank you very much, madam. I'm happy to introduce Hemant sir, a renowned speaker whom I know for several years. CA Hemant Kumar sir is a practicing chartered accountant, promoter and founder of Mrs. Hemanta and Co. Chartered Accountant Chennai. He holds a diploma in information system audit. He is also a certified forensic auditor, certified concurrent auditor for banks, completed certification course on GST, completed certificate course on non-profit organizations, recently qualified social auditor from NISM certification exam for SSE. He is also an insolvency professional from IBBI, qualified registered valuer also. He has got a vast experience in the consultancy of audit and assurance services for both direct and indirect taxes, and handling corporate affairs, advisory matters relating to the core areas like mergers and acquisitions, restructuring, etc. Presently, Hemant sir is an editorial board member at the Institute of Valuers, was the convener of Ananagar City Study Circle of SIRC, was the co-opted member of SIRC regional level, Students Committee and Editorial Board. He is a regular speaker on different professional topics at various CPE meetings, seminars and workshops at various branches of ICAI, ICWI, RVO, etc. He regularly appears on Tamil TV channels on deliberations of professional interest. With this brief, I present before you CA Hemant Kumar sir to handle today's session on valuation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rehman.
Thank you very much.
Before Hemant, I will take the session first because I'm very curious to pose questions to Hemant. This is an opportunity for me, to put him in trouble asking questions about valuation and various other queries which I used to receive. So I wanted to pose those queries to him to answer. Hemant, we will have it in an interactive way so that members also will come to know about what is valuation and what are all the opportunities we will be having. So before that, just I wanted to know about the present status, that is a legal recognition for valuation in India. So could you elaborate on that subject first?
Outside, thank you very much for giving this wonderful opportunity. Chairman sir and Vice Chairman, Secretary and all management committee members for giving this wonderful opportunity. Let me register my thanks and appreciation for SIRC for initiating this such a wonderful series of sessions on valuation. I understood this as rightly said by our Vice Chairman, Madam. So it is a starting point where we want to have ourselves equip what is exactly profession it is and where we are able to see that.
Yeah, we can, sir. We can. You can proceed.
Okay. Madam asking a very interesting question. The question is, what is the present status of the valuation profession in India? What is the recognition of valuation professionals in India? So before starting about professional work of valuers, let us understanding what is the purpose of valuation. Valuation is not a new for us, being a chartered accountant, post-independence. We worked in valuation in different scenario, rightly introduced by Rahman ji also. The requirement of the valuers when the purpose of mergers and acquisitions, when our ESOPs are going, when our very important decisions are taken at board, and when our statutory requirement under the balance sheet gap requirement and price allocations, whenever there is an understanding between the shareholders structuring and things are happening in an organization structure and minority interests were wherever affecting it. And apart from that, there is a requirement of a legal requirement offset 2016, the present government number 1. So they introduced very, very interesting legislation called Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code in 2016, which is a landmark and which has changed the entire scenario of our professional relations of not only one chartered accountant with the professional with another chartered accountant, little bit beyond the gone and having started the interaction with other professionals also, chartered accountant, cost accountants, company secretary, lawyers, so on, go on. This is an avenue open for the multi-employment of professionals and requirement under Income Tax Act, which we regularly chartered accountants are earlier used to do, and still we are doing it, and 11 UA. And of course, the FEMA and RBI requirements, which we are doing. And apart from that, non-requirement like other legislations or family settlements, wherever big organization, big things are there. All these purposes, the valuation is not a new profession for us. But there is no one single legislative authority, like for our chartered accountant professions, auditors, accountant. In India, we call it as a chartered accountant, which is controlled by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We're proud to we have a controlling one adjudicating authority, which is passed by the parliament. But in India, valuation profession is concerned over a period of decades. This particular profession is not taken the wings for having a one sort of recognition as a valuers. Thanks to Companies Act 2013, when in 2017, 18th October, the Companies Act was notified one section, one single section, single chapter, section 247 in Companies Act, section 247, single section, single chapter, and on the same day they come out with rules. Company Register Valuers and Valuation Rules 2017 was notified, and with that movement, a proud and a great day was opened for valuation profession is concerned. a nomenclature called registered valuer. First time in history in India, registered valuer profession care the registered valuers. By the time, as I told you, in 2016, Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India, IBBI, is the adjudicating authority for controlling the insolvency and bankruptcy code. So government thought for time being purpose, they introduced on 23rd October 2017 within a span of 5 days for temporary purpose. I underline the word for temporary purpose. They given the hands and the responsibility as adjudicating authority for controlling the registered valuers of this profession. And IBB had taken the charge, and by notifying this section 247, single section, if it possible, we'll see what is section 247 also. And valuation in the rules, it's talking about company register value and valuation rules 2017, broadly talking about what is meant by register valuer. If a person as an individual having the profession is called register valuer. If a profession as an entity is having a 2 or more. Presently, we are in the only with the partnership firms permitted by CANs2, and of course LLP started of late, and register valuer entity private limited company also permissible under this particular regulations rules for having a RVE. So not only partnership firm, we can have a private limited companies also to be RVEs to control all this point registered valuer organizations. And we have ICAI also one subsidiary, 100% subsidiary. ICAI RVO we have. And of course, apart from that, we are discussing about valuation standards, as well as any profession has to be controlled unless otherwise we have a one set of code of conduct to control the profession. So all these things are taken charge on the particular day of 18th October 2017. And as I told you, the adjudicating authority, insolvency bankruptcy board, in the balance sheet side, now presently assets, these register values are classified into 3 classes of assets. So balance sheet classified into 3 classes of assets. One, asset class, land and building. So basically, civil engineer is the person who is taking charge of valuing the land and building. Earlier, for our banking purpose or other purpose, we as a chartered accountant, we are taking guideline value and doing evaluation. The days are gone. We had to put a full stop for that. And a qualified person, competent person who qualified as a registered valuer under land and building is the only competent authority to do the valuation of land and building. Plant 2, registered valuer, asset class, plant and machinery. For plant and machinery, whatever in the land and being left out, that category will take care. Technically speaking, other category, residual category is registered valuer, securities or financial asset. I don't know why they kept securities or financial asset. And they called, they're not given any specific area like land and building. The residual part of balance sheet, whatever is there, all the part which are taken care by the securities or financial asset. That's the present interpretation and nowhere defined. So basically, in India, registered valuers are recognized in the 3 classes of assets. 1, registered valuer land and building. 2, registered valuer plant and machinery. 3, registered valuer security and financial asset. To understand it a better way, the protocol and structure mechanism of registered valuers. The adjudicating authority, as I told you, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Under that, second level of adjudicating authority, we called as RVO. As I told you, RVO. There are around 16 plus RVOs are there. It's recognized by the IBBI. So this is the first level of controlling mechanism. This is the second level of controlling mechanism. Under each RVO, as an individual, if you register, we call it as a registered value. If you register as an entity, as a private limited.
Hemant sir, your bandwidth is low, very low. Your internet bandwidth is very low, it seems, sir. Your audio and video are striking.
Okay, you are able to hear me?
Yeah, we can able to hear you, but there is some hindrance in your audio and video. The continuity is not there, sir.
Now it's okay?
Now it's okay, but
It's okay.
in between the audio, your audio is not no. It's so big. Hello, Hemant. Hello.
Now,
No, no.
hello. Still facing the same problem?
Yes, yes.
In between,
In between, yeah.
yes, yes.
It,
You can
it's not
connect with some other
continuous.
devices, sir. You can try connecting with some other device. Either
Yeah,
you try
yeah.
with your mobile
Otherwise, you can
data.
mute your video and talk.
Okay, that's better, I believe.
Someone is also suggesting the same.
Because madam, sir wants to share some screen also.
Huh.
If he switch off his video, then we couldn't able to see the video also. Oh, okay, okay.
Now
You
it's
can
okay?
proceed. You can proceed this way, sir, please.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. So if you want to be a registered valuer, as I told them, so this is the present scenario of if you want to be a registered valuer. So we can register as a registered valuer, and it is recognized by a set of legislations, which we'll discuss in the next course of action. Over to madam.
Hemant,
I-
you're taking a break in between.
now it's okay.
Yeah. Hemant, now we understood about the legislative aspects of registered valuers, but at the same time, we would like to know, our members would like to know more about how would be the exam pattern, because to become qualified, they have to write the exam and succeed in the exam. No? So what would be the exam pattern? Whether it's
Okay.
objective
So,
or...
okay, great, madam. Okay, so now we understood what is meant by exactly the qualification for registered valuer as an individual called as
Hemant, sir, issues like
Hemant,
that.
Hemant, not audible.
Sir, you can mute your video and talk, sir. We can able to see your screen. Huh?
Okay, give me 2 minutes. Okay, no?
Yeah.
Still no? Now it's okay?
Yes.
Okay, and the video I'll cut down. I'll start with audio. So we have to adjust with this one. That's better way. So thing is, so if you want to be a registered valuer, so the basic qualification is chartered accountant with 3 years experience, and for cost accountant as well as the company secretary or postgraduates with 3 years experience is the eligibility criteria. So who is registered valuer? Registered valuer is a person having a qualification and experience as specified by the law. So qualification is a chartered accountant, these 3 qualifications plus postgraduate, and experience is the 3 years. And if you want to write this particular thing, the flow is like this. First, we have to check the basic qualification and experience. Now we already understood chartered accountant with 3 years experience is the qualification for eligibility for making this examination to appear. Then we had to join with any one RVO. In my example, I told you there are 16 RVOs. One of the RVO is ICAI, ICMA, like different IOV, like different RVOs are available with who are recognized by the IBBI. So, for example, if you are joining with ICAI RVO, we have to undergo a mandatory training of 50 hours, and after finishing 50 hours of training, we have to appear for examination. It's an online examination conducted by IBBI. So you can take your training anywhere in this out of the 16 RVOs, which I told you. Any RVO you can take which are recognized by the IBBI. In that RVO, you can undergo for your training. After completing your training, you have to go for an examination, online examination, which are conducting by our agency, whether it may be BSc or NASM, which is dependent on the situation. Or given by the
Hemant.
approval given by the IBBI.
Hemant,
So,
not audible. For me, I think not audible. For anyone else, you're facing the same problem of the audio. Rehman, could you hear him?
Yeah, I can able to hear you, madam. I can able to hear you.
No, Hemant.
Hemant also no problem, madam.
not
Okay.
okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Anyhow, we have buried a few things we can complete up. Then we had to choose in between your question. I can change my system. That's not a problem. Then we had to, once you pass your examination, we have to sit for examination. You have to clear your examination with a pattern. Where if you pass your examination, then you have to go for your application with the IBBI. Then IBBI will be through RVO. You have to put your application to RVO. Through RVO, you have to go for IBBI to clear your membership number. Once you get certification, then you'll start practicing that. So the examination pattern, the question which madam was asking, the examination is conducted in multiple choice only. It's a online examination, 100 marks. And for this, there will be 2 hours of time will be allocated. There is no requirement to answer all, but we have to get, there is a negative mark of quarter mark. If any questions you done mistake, quarter mark gone. So we have to be more ensure that unless otherwise you are accurate 100% pakka, then only your answer has to be given. And passing mark for clearing the examination is 60%. So once you completed this protocol of completing your examination and you have to go for membership, then you can start your practice as well as taken into. Over to madam.
Yes, Hemant. Okay, we'll pass the exam. What next?
So next we have to start.
Okay, that we will start our practice. What are the opportunities we will be getting? Because no, unless and until if we know the opportunities, then only we start our practice, right?
Fair enough. So okay, I'll take before after this cycle take this, and since madam asked me about opportunities, then so valuation profession is concerned. Basically, we can bifurcate into 2 categories of opportunities in valuation is concerned. So I bifurcated the opportunities in 2 ways. One, the opportunities are which are specified as per as the statutory requirement. 2, those are non-statutory required. Still, the requirement, as I told you, for example, family settlement, if valuation has to be done, we have to do valuation. So basically, if you bifurcate this valuation professional requirements into 2 categories, and statutory required and non-statutory required. To give a thanks to first time draft valuer bill, these are the things that are required by statutory, that is Companies Act, IBBI, Income Tax Act, CPE, Security Contract Act, Security Interest Act, all these things. To have a better idea, thanks to draft valuer bill 2020. So the development in the valuation profession of late, what happened is before taking what happened is we are presently recognized with not with all legislations. We are recognized only presently with the Companies Act, and we recognized with IBBI, that is IBC code. IBC code. These are the 2 legislations are recognized the requirement, the qualification of registered value. What about other professions like Income Tax Act, SEBI? Of late, SEBI also started recognizing the registered valuers, and we'll discuss in detail about that. And presently, let us say mainly Companies Act as well as IBC code, only 2 legislations are completely recognized. Wherever the requirement of the valuation is required to be done, it should be done by only a qualified registered valuer. I repeat, in the case of Companies Act and in the case of IBC code, wherever the requirement of doing the valuation works, the valuation works should be done only by a qualified registered valuer, none other people other than that. So rest of the act, what is the fate of that? So what we thought is when it's this particular profession was on, especially in the case of Income Tax Act in May, I believe my memory is correct, May 2018, in the case of 11 UA, Rule 11 UA, was amended And the case of 11UA, the DCF method earlier, there are two people are qualified to do. One is the merchant bankers, two chartered accountants. On the particular day, chartered accountants are removed to be worked under DCF method, discount cash flow method. Now, presently under 11UA, only merchant banker is a competent authority, and other methodology which is prescribed under the standard format in the Income Tax Act, still chartered accountants are permitted. We thought that the moment when it was came in 2018, even the same act also legislation was put in taking place. The idea is they want to bring this register valuer full time to brought into that, so that it will be tic-tac that only a qualified register valuer will do the valuation. Now, the draft valuer bill was made it. As I told you in the initial opening remarks that the IBBA is taken for temporary purpose. There is one more organization like ICAI for standard accountants. How we have ICAI? The same way for valuers, there will be an institute recognized by the parliament. The institute will call NIB. There will be one new organization going to come in the place of Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, and this is replaced with the National Institute of Valuers. Once this draft valuer bill transform into a valuer act. So we thought that the public comments was given in 2020 when Corona is there. So we are very locked down. Still in very aggressive way they are taken in, and after taking all notes they put it in the parliament, and still in the parliament the bill has to be passed. Once this bill was passed, what could be the scenario of the valuers? That is more interesting. That's what Madam also asking about. So before knowing about that, in draft valuer bill, there is one particular interesting section, first time in Indian history, a section called 2 subsection 52 was inserted. There, first time in history, they've given a definition called what is valuation services. The valuation services means the services relating to valuation of any assets or liability, which is required under the provision of law. That is law as a statutory required. So which are the acts which are going to come? Once this valuation bill is going to come, Banking Regulation Act, Security Contract Act, Wealth Tax Act, Income Tax Act, Security, CPE, IRDA, FEMA, SIRC, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and Limited Liability Partnership, Companies Act, Pension Fund Regulatory, Black Money Act, IBC Code, and they're given a residual saying that any other law as may be prescribed. That means in future, any legislation required the requirement of a valuer, then the requirement of valuer will be done by through this valuer. And that means, as I told you, accountant means chartered accountant. In future, once this law was taken place, it means valuer means Valuer Act 2020-23, whatever it might going to be happen. So the professional opportunities today by all this legislation still there, as per as there are concerned legislation. For example, in the case of Income Tax Act, who is the valuer? I told you registered valuer under Wealth Tax Act, and who are the registered under merchant banker or chartered accountant, who are in few sections is there. And in the case of if you take IRDA, different category of people, those are clear their examination of IRDA test, who are the competent authority. And security contracts, SEBI talking about merchant bankers, chartered accountant in few areas. So like different legislations having their own protocols, own legislation still continuing. So how IBC code was codified for insolvency related issues, the same way valuation related things, it is going to be codified and going to be a valuer act, and all these legislations going to be come in single shot for the valuers who is going to be registered and qualified by the time as a registered valuers, going to be the people having the qualification for this. And apart from that, they're given an opportunity for even for non-statutory, which may arise the need from the market as may be satisfied. That means both statutory as well as non-statutory situations, the requirement of valuers, the valuers, the only who is going to be registered valuer today and tomorrow, the going to be having the valuation profession. It's going to be a huge, that's what I'm trying to say. It's going to be a huge level of scope going to be expanded for the valuation professions are concerned. So now it's the early boards who are already cleared and we are already there in the registry with the qualified with the IBBI registry as a registered valuers. This will have the wonderful opportunity to take it up. So those are in the forum, forum, those are not clear the registered valuer examination or yet to start the profession of registered valuer, who are interested, kindly a request, this is the right time where you have to step in and start completing your examination and register with the IBBI. Then you can have the opportunities tomorrow. Then tomorrow it's going to be a scenario that in Income Tax Act, presently what you are doing, or FEMA, what you are doing, which you are not competent authority, we are going to miss if you are not pass your exam as a registered valuer. So you want to be expand each and every opportunity one more time, madam, individually, or any other question on this?
No, we will go to next question. You mentioned about some standards. Already we are updating all our accounting standards and auditing standards. So along with that, whether we need to study any valuation standards, whether those standards are prescribed by ICAI or any other authority is there under which those standards are prescribed, whether we need to update ourselves with both the standards. So as you said in your initial remarks, when you are mentioning about the broad aspect of valuations, you mentioned about some standards, whether those standards are under ICAI, or any other regulation.
Wonderful question, madam. Good observation. Let me take this opportunity. Before introducing this particular valuation standards, let me take a very quick of what is section 247 talking about. So section 247 is a wonderful one single section. I told you single section, single chapter in the Companies Act. So it is very important to understand. Section 247 talking about 4 subsections. Subsection 1 talking about where valuation is required to be made in respect of any property, stock, debentures, shares, security, or goodwill, or any other assets. Here in reference as asset, that's what the 3 classes of assets we are talking about. Or net worth of the company or liabilities under the provisions of this act can be valued. That means only a qualified registered valuer is competent authority to do valuation of the Companies Act under section. Wherever in Companies Act, the requirement of valuers are there. Only a qualified registered valuer has to be done. Who is registered valuer? Registered valuer person who is having a qualification, experience, and registered as a valuer. I told you, qualification is the chartered accountant with experience with 3 years, who are passed the examination and registered the examination, registered with the IBBI, is the only competent authority called as registered valuer. And they're talking about who is the appointing authority. And board of directors competent authority to what not to do, or it should be impartial, and you should perform as the due diligence in accordance with the as rules and as may be prescribed. This is what I exactly want before starting the evaluation. That means if you want to do audit, we have to do audit as per the Companies Act. Companies Act also talking about we have to go for as per as the auditing standards. The same way, if you in the Companies Act, it's made it very clear. If you want to do valuation, your valuation should be done in accordance with the rules as may be prescribed. That means there will be a set of rules which I already discussed. Registered valuer and valuation rules 2017 is already prescribed, which in that rule number 8 talking about the requirement how to do valuation. So talking about who has to not do, who has direct or indirect interest should not do, and finally talking about penalty section. Who those are interested, you can study. This is if you are violating the system, what could be the penalty for the registered valuer? We can see. Okay, now the question is how to conduct the valuation. That's what I told. Rule number 8. Rule number 8 talking about conduct of the valuation. Registered valuer shall, while conducting a valuation, comply with the valuation standards as notified or modified under rule number 18. Then when you're reading rule number 8, they're talking about rule number 18. That means there is a rule number. What they're talking about? Register valuer shall, while conducting a valuation, comply with the valuation standards as notified or modified and rule number 18. What is rule number 18, 19? So let us quickly go to that. Rule number 18, central government shall notify and modify time to time a valuation recommended by the committee set at under rule number 8. Then it is talking about rule number 19. That means rule number 8 talking about there will be a valuation standard which is notified by the central government. Kindly follow. Central government are being notified. Still, it is not notified. For that, they formed a committee under rule number 19 with the different people. Even CA Institute, representative RBO also, one of the representatives who are in the particular committee. So I have opportunity to discuss this committee also to have a plan on this. Still, this committee still under the process and they yet to be notified. So if that means in India, valuation standard committee was formed and time to time they are meeting, having a meetings and discussing about Indian local standards which required for the valuation for our valuers. Still, it is under process. Since it is still under a process, the still central government still not notified the valuation standards. Okay, if it is not still notified, what is the alternative? Regulations talking about provided that until valuation standards are notified or modified by the central government, valuer shall make valuation as per as A, internationally accepted valuation standards, B, valuation standards adopted by the RVO. That means here, unfortunate or fortunate, they're not given R or and. So thanks to valuer bill, they given an understanding that should be R. Subsequently, also they're given a clarification that is R. That means until the valuation standards and rule number 18, 19 notify, the valuer has to do the valuation as per as internationally accepted valuation standards, A, or the valuation standards adopted by the register valuer. Friends, very interestingly, in 2017, I believe, February 28, somewhere, the valuation standard committee board was formed by ICAI, and under the leadership of our guru, our great guru, MP Vijay Kumar sir, is the lead the team during that time, and they made the research and recently they come out with a Indian valuation standard by ICAI, which is almost all equal competent to the international valuation standards. So ICAI is come out with the valuation standards, and unfortunately from 1/7/2018 onwards, it became mandatory for all chartered accountants. I repeat, for all chartered accountants who are doing valuation works, they have to do the valuation as per as the valuation standards issued by the ICAI. Valuation standards issued by the ICAI. In fact, we have given the opportunity in the law that until the valuation standards notified by the central government, there is a possibility that our concerned ICAI RVO adopted ICAI standards, ICAI valuation standards as the standards for our valuation. Now I take opportunity to show you that one. And this is the international valuation standards which runs around. 1 second. I'll take it out. Okay. Able to view me? able to view these valuation standards,
Yes.
madam? Sir?
Yes.
Great. So these are ICAI valuation standards issued in 2018, having 8 standards, including the definition. Having talking about more or less, we have a very standardized way of thing. They worked day and night with a very dedicated team. They come out these valuation standards. Whenever you are doing valuation in India, as a chartered accountant, number one, first, as a chartered accountant, under any registrations, any other thing, unless otherwise specified otherwise in the legislation, the chartered accountant has to do the valuation as per as this valuation standards. And in the case of registered valuers, since our ICAI RVO, if you are registered as a chartered accountant with the ICAI RVO, you have to do your valuation as per as the valuation standards of this this thing. So this is the present scenario of valuation. So it is the valuation standards which I showed you, and international valuation standard equivalent to that which you are discussing it. So now, why these standards? You rightly said by madam that any profession which is the thing which unless otherwise we don't have the standardization of the thing, things will not rotate and it's not more to move. The same way, valuation profession also, since the particular registration talking about rule number 8, the valuation has to be done as per as the valuation standards, as per as the adopted by the RVO. All valuers has to do valuation, either internationally accepted valuation standards, or in case if there are RVOs are adopted valuation standard, they have to take. And it is a movement where I'm proud to say in India, out of all 16 RVOs, ICAI only having a own Indian Desi standards of our own valuation standards. So chartered accountants only have the privilege to have our own standards to adopt, and we are implementing and we are using until the valuation standard notified by central government under rule number 8. Hope I clarified the requirement of valuation, madam. Vote, madam.
Hemant, after hearing all these things, I have one more doubt. If someone is in employment, whether they can take up this course, or
okay,
whether it is applicable only for a practicing professionals.
Great, good question, madam. For writing the examination, there is no bar for you to write the examination. You can write your examination as a registered valuer and you can qualify. Your certificate will be valid for a period of 3 years, so nothing to worry. But as far as this practice of COP is concerned, only a practicing person is eligible to do this valuation profession, madam, not for part-time in place.
And even newly qualified chartered accountants, whether they are eligible to write. Now, as you said, 3 years of experience is required, but before 3 years also, whether, and as you said, no, for writing the exam, there is no requirement of whether he is in employment or practice. But for practice only, that is very much required. So in the same way, whether a professional, as soon as he or she qualifies, whether they can take up this exam, for taking up the exam.
Taking examination, there is no bar, but they will not give a membership until otherwise you completed 3 years of your experience. So at the time they will be stopping it. Otherwise, if it is a lapse, again you have to undergo.
Okay. Okay. Now we will come to know about. Hello. Hello, Hemant.
One
Hello?
more time. Go ahead. I'm hearing. I'm hearing. I'm hearing.
Okay. Okay. We understood about what is valuation and who are eligible to take up the exam and how to become a registered valuer and what are all the opportunities we have. Now we would like to know about whether any specific report format is there, how to report, because in our auditing standards, we have particular reporting standards for issuing our audit report. So like that, any specific standard reporting pattern is there for valuers?
Okay, good question, madam. In fact, there is no specified format of reporting in the valuation is concerned. But what I can say, rule number 8, the same rule number 8, subsection 3, talking about there is a mandatory requirement of contents to be mentioned in your valuation report. That's what given in rule number 8. The set of points are mentioned in the rule number 8 of valuation, registered valuer and valuation rules. Of late in September 1st, 2020, from 1st October 2020, they come out with one more mandatory by ICAI, a guidance note on caveat limitation disclaimer to be registered valuer in the valuation reports. Under that particular thing, they come out with a set of contents which are mandatorily required, compulsorily to cover in their valuation report. So any valuer who completed the valuation and if you could able to jot out their points in a systematic and scientific way of all these points into one place, then you'll get a wonderful reporting structure. So to understand in a better way, we can have a background of the information of the asset being valued. So we have to tell about starting the report structuring. We can visualize our report in such a way that how it will be going to be. So background of the, so what purpose, what is the purpose of taking up this valuation, and who is the valuation appointing authority. That is the reason I told when I was talking about 247, the appointing authority in the case of Companies Act, the audit committee, or in the case of absence of audit committee, board of directors are the competent authority to do the valuation. And basis of the value, what is the basis of the value? Is the fair value, liquidation value, or fair market value, or what is the exact basis of the value you are going to do? And premises of value means you are talking about whether it's a going concern or liquidation, or you are on what high and best use. Like 4 methodologies are there, premises are there, where we under which premises we are doing the valuation, we are doing it, and you have to identify the valuer. I, Hemant Kumar, is a registered valuer, and under ICAI, registered with ICAI. So something like that we had to start. And who are the other experts are using the work of expert, which you are studying even in our audit we are used to do, where because it's not expected that all provisions may not be known by the concerned registered valuer. So there is a requirement for that. You have to undergo and use wherever required the expert knowledge of other professionals. So using the work of other professionals also is the one which has to be mentioned in your valuation report wherever you are using. And intended users, this is a very important. So wherever valuation reports are prepared, who is the users, intended users? We have to be, unless otherwise you mentioned, it's very clear that it cannot be kept open for public use. Valuation report cannot be used as a public use, and invariably for to use a thing, and it should be only used by the intended people who for the preparation of this valuation report. Disclosure of the valuer, as I told you, valuer should be independent. You should not have the attachment or directly or indirectly with any type of this thing with other professions, other with the where the client is, you are doing the valuation, and that means conflict of interest should not be there. And apart from that, you have to mention in your evaluation report date of appointment, appointment report, depot date, and all these things. Apart from that, when you are going for a personal inspection, and that information you can mention in your report. And business interest, you can talking about knowledge of the business, how business was structured, and how business was formed, who are the owners for that thing, and background of the business organization structure, you can mention about that. And natural source of him, from where you got the source of information, and how you got this information has to be taken into that. That has to be mentioned in your report very categorically. And significant assumptions is to be. Valuation is nothing but a estimation and narrating with good story of a punter problem. That's what the thing valuation report it is. So whatever you want to convey as a valuer, you want to develop in a good way of a story in developing with all these points, whatever assumptions you made. And apart from that, you have to mention that what are the procedures you adopt and carry out the valuation. And there are 3 approaches are there for doing evaluation, internationally accepted as well as ICAI evaluation standards also. And each approach having a different methods. So we have to tell that what procedure you followed to carry out the evaluation to arrive the evaluation, and valuation standards followed. Very important. Just now we discussed about which valuation standard. Are you followed international evaluation standards? There are different internationally recognized evaluation standards across the globe. We use IBS, International Valuation Standard Council, which are issuing the valuation standards by US. Is a very standardized valuation things. But here and there, comparing to US based valuation standards with Indian valuation standards. Some areas we may be having some technical glitches where that is the reason central government want to have their own valuation standards to be taken in. That research was still under process. And apart from that, you have to mention in your valuation report the restrictions on use of the report and what are the restrictions. There is a reason caveats, limitations were taken into place and major factors taken into consideration and conclusions. And it is very important that any audit report conclusions which you are giving, whether it's a true and fair view or what is the best. So that opinion is very important. We have to give in the valuation report also. It cannot be vague. You can't leave it to the reader in a vague situation. And we have to make very clearly the conclusions which require to be do the valuation, what conclusions you made. And apart from that, you have to mention caveats, limitation, disclaimer while doing your valuation. So caveat, limitation, disclosure is not intended that to dilute your valuation report. The intention of this caveat, limitation, disclaimer to make the users and apart from that, the professionals who are the valuers who are doing the valuation, make himself that under what circumstances he want issuing the report and which way he can protect himself with the all legal third parties who are users of this particular valuation report. So in this caveat, limitation, disclaimer, that is the reason this particular guidelines was issued by only one guideline so far issued by the IBBI, talking about the requirement. And all these points, if you codified it, simply put in a way, instead of asking the fresh valuer chartered accountant, instead of asking a format report from other colleagues, better you go for this format and fill the blanks and you will come out with a wonderful evaluation report. And at the same time, you comply with all your requirements. And this is not this is not mandate. This is not all these points are mandatory. Whether it may be like what is that? Compulsory, statutory required or non-statutory required. All the situations, this is mandatory to follow, and it should be done into that. So that's how it will be, and this is the requirement of things, madam. Over to madam.
Hemant, we have one more doubt regarding updation of our knowledge. Okay. So I enrolled for this valuation. I passed, and we started our practice. So what next?
Okay.
Because we in our profession, in our CA profession, we need to complete CPRs. So like that, any requirement is there under valuation rules, whether we need to complete any CPE hours like that?
You rightly said, madam. So any profession is knowledge is update and upgrade ourselves is a continuous process. And why not in valuation or insolvency profession or whichever profession? This upgrading and updating ourselves is very, very important. As a part of that, we call the CPE, and this CEP program or continuous education programs are still in the IP as well as RV, registered valuers. We had to undergo 10 hours in a calendar year, the same way 3 years block year period. So RVO will specify you the requirement of the updating of attending this CEP programs and where you have to attend and make your compulsory knowledge updations are mandatory in this.
Yeah.
And apart from that, if you okay, I'll complete this and then you can next. So as continuation of my earlier discussion about as I promise you that what are the professional opportunities? What are the professional opportunities in different legislations presently is following? Very quickly, we can have a glance before taking up the next question from madam. So as I told you, these are the 14 registrations plus one legislation kept open as a residual point which has to be taken into. And what is the present scenario of all this registration? Very quickly, let us have a look into that. So number one, Companies Act, very, very important. This is the professional opportunities, scopes still open in the market for all chartered accountants who are qualified as a registered valuer, and still who are not qualified as a registered valuer also. These are the professional opportunities still open. One, as far as the Companies Act is concerned, as I told you, there are about 13 instances circumstances, let us say section 62, there is invariably every month 2 or 3 assignments we are getting in and having a requirement of further issue of share and preferential allotment whenever new shareholders are in. The requirement of the valuation by a qualified registered valuer is mandatory. Only a qualified registered valuer, only as a competent authority to do the valuation. Even though you whatever experience as a chart accountant you are having it, but this qualification, unless otherwise you don't have the registered valuer qualification, you are not competent authority to do the valuation. And we have a non-cash transaction. Generally, in case of small private limited company, directors used to keep loan amount converted into shares. That means the shares allocated other than cash. These are the situations are required, and mergers and acquisitions. Whenever we are talking about sweat equity, whenever you're talking about money compulsory, return allotment, exclusive deposit. So all liquidation, all these cases, all these 13 instances, we are made it mandatory that only a qualified registered valuer is the competent authority to do the valuation under all these legislations. And apart from this, if you want to go for other legislation which is recognized immediately, as I told you, of Companies Act, given a golden shake and hand, is IBC code, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. In all these 7 plus another 2 situations are added, and more or less 8-9 situations in all these provisions, wherever a requirement of CIRP process, wherever requirement of liquidation process, wherever required this process has to be done, the required to do fair value and liquidation value has to be done under different legislations under IBC code. So 1, Companies Act is required. 2, IBC code is the next legislation which is required, given a golden shake hand to the valuers to do the valuation related works. And apart from that, the third legislation which is given a opportunities for the valuers is SEBI. Of late, SEBI also initially not recognized. Of late in 2020, they started recognizing few set of things, and by amending that, all these 4 circumstances, regulations required only a qualified registered valuer. Earlier is merchant banker, chartered accountant. Now they come out with each registration, they come out recognizing the registered valuers and doing evaluation related work. This is a professional opportunity for our registered valuers under SEBI. And after that, Security Contract Act. Whenever Security Contract Act, so there is a requirement of chartered accountants who are undergoing a peer review or having a under peer review are eligible to be, or else a SEBI, merchant bankers and category 1 are competent authority to an independent valuation. Independent, we call it the independent valuers to do valuation wherever Security Contract Act, the provisions are required to do evaluation. These people are the competent authority. So valuation requirement, talking about Security Contract Act also. Apart from that, Income Tax Act. And Department of Revenue, Department Finance, Ministry of Finance, Income Tax Act, GST, Customs, and Black Money Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. These are the wonderful 2 acts, are very, very interesting acts, which having a very good potential for a chartered accountant, which having knowledge in the valuations, which having a because very few people are stepping and doing the valuation related works and services in this. And Income Tax Act, as you know that 11 UA chartered accountant or merchant bankers. If you go for DCF method, merchant banker, other than that standard method of 11 UA, chartered accountant are competent authority to the valuation, and customs wherever few sections talking about the requirement of the valuation. And apart from that, another act we called under, as I told you, registration under 34. What is about Wealth Tax Act? It is already abolished, but still this particular sections, provisions are still valid and open. Section 34AB, we called it 34AB. 34AB, like 44AB, what we love the section. The same way, 34AB, register valuers, we call it register valuers 34AB. Under registered with the commissioner of how to register, we have to, there are 2 methods which I'll discuss later. We have to go for a principal commissioner or commissioner of income tax, or shall be the competent authority. They have a registry, there is a specified format is there, and we have to go and register with them, and there will be registry will be open. And under, if you register as a member, you can be competent authority wherever assignments related to Black Money Act, which assessments are going on. You can be representing that. Apart from that, you have a professional opportunity. If you have a knowledge in the valuation, you can represent it as a under the department under Black Money Act also. And apart from that, we have an act called Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Of late, this Money Laundering Act was very active, and the requirement of Money Laundering Act was taken into. And here also the same provisions. The person who was under 34AB competent qualified person can be a valuer, and you go and register with the principal commissioner of the concerned registration in the prescribed format, and you can start your valuation related profession. And in the case of banking sector, who are already in doing revenue audit for big companies, big banks, and still now it's open. It's left to the bank for appointing in the panel auditors to appoint. And of late, if it is the Value Act taken place, the Banking Regulation Act, if it is taken place, and only a qualified valuer is going to be a valuer for in future. So hence, I request the members to take the opportunity to do it. And Surface Act for the DRT, Debt Recovery Tribunal, were required to be registered valuers to the valuation. And IRDA Act. So required IRD is interestingly, I thought it's only for engineers or technical mechanical people. If you go for miscellaneous, CES, CWS are a competent authority to do the valuation under this particular registration. So presently you have to undergo for an examination and undergoing as a training to want to do a starting who are under IRDM examination. You want to clear the examination and clear the training. Only those people are CES, CWS people who are the competent authority to the valuation related things. And FEMA, I think we are wherever FDA, ODA also recently recognized one more things, recognition of registered valuers. In FEMA, we know that wherever foreign exchange inward outward transfers are taking place, the requirement of FEMA compliance and uploading the returns for that valuation. Presently, chartered accountants and the company secretary, chartered accountant, cost accountant, and merchant bankers are the competent authority where we are doing evaluation. The biggest problem when a single transaction was taken place, in presently the challenge is we have to go for evaluation under FEMA, we have to do evaluation under what is RBI, we are doing evaluation under Income Tax Act, we have to do evaluation under Companies Act, go on so on, different legislation, different principles, different policies which require the requirement of evaluation works by different authority, different legislations. So this confusion still go on, and we have to wait for some more time. So ODI as well as these things, we required the registration of valuation related assignments. And apart from that, we are having opportunities in the Partnership Act wherever partnership was distributed, and at the time of closure of partnership, we required the valuation to be done as per the LLP Act also. Apart from that, we have opportunities in Pension Fund Regulatory Development Act, since here also wherever fund requirements are that as per the guidelines of that of authority, we have to do evaluation for that. And modern techniques, how to do, as I told you, there are three approaches are there. One is a cost approach, two market approach, and three income approach. That is this is a methods which are using inside of that. And yeah, offline we are having a different techniques, artificial intelligence, as well as the automated value models, AVM methods banks are started in. So using the artificial intelligence, other technologies, and the valuation techniques also increasing. The idea of this particular meeting, as we discussed, is to have an awareness program to about what is exactly happening. It hope these are the wonderful opportunities what we discuss in this 14-15 legislations, which are having the wonderful opportunities for the valuers doing evaluation related works. So hope I given a overall idea and guidelines for what are the opportunities are there for the valuers in presently in India in a detailed way for the our particular crowd. Over to Madam.
Yes, Hemant. Yeah, so many opportunities are there. And I request members also, if you have any queries, you can post your queries in chat box or in question and answer sessions. And at the end of the session, we will take up your questions. And one more question I have is of late we are hearing about overvaluation, undervaluation scenarios. So in such a case, what is the repercussion of that? Is there any code of conduct or anything is there in valuation for registered valuers?
Good question, Madam. So as any profession, as I take you, I discussing about section 247 in Companies Act itself made it very clear. One second. So we discussed about section 247. So in 247, we are talking about subsection 1 and subsection 2 we discussed. In fact, subsection 3 and 4 we didn't discuss. Probably this question can be answered with this particular thing. If any valuer who are not following the valuation rules and valuation act, which is bypassing and is doing bias, then if valuer contradictory to the provisions or act, rules thereon, value shall be punishable with which fine, which may be not less than 25,000. In fact, this amount was increased to 50,000 rupees. This amount was increased to 50,000 and which may be extended to 1 lakh rupee. So such a serious thing, and provided that if valuer contract positions intentionally default, he has to refund his remuneration. Apart from that, he has to pay the damage based on the user of this particular valuation report. So your penalty will be go on so on. So it will be huge. So unless otherwise you do evaluation as per the valuation standards, you do evaluation as within the parameters of the code of conduct. If you follow the professional standards and ethics in a systematic way, you can avoid all these penalties. And IBBI as well as the inspection team, and of course the same way like peer review also, we have a peer review system in our valuation profession also. They have a very serious way of taking up, and penalty is also very seriously taken by our adjudicating authority IBBI as well as the concerned RVOs. So we should be very careful in doing valuation. You can't take a grant that to the valuation as you wish. Yes, madam.
Please, Hemant.
Any other questions from
Participants?
Yeah.
Rehman, do we have any questions about from participants?
Madam, as of now, we don't have any questions from the participants, ma'am.
Oh, most of the questions you already asked.
On behalf of all the members here, ma'am has asked all the questions.
Given 2 minutes rest for me.
Yeah.
No, because 1 more hour is there. No, I guess 1 more hour is there.
Go ahead. 45 minutes are there. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Which are the
45
questions?
minutes are there.
Yeah, madam.
So how to go about? Can we go into
Ma'am, there is a question from Jayalakshmi. Is there any exam center in Bengaluru?
Yeah.
Yes,
In
very good.
Bangalore. Yeah, I am here. 2 exam centers are there. One in RC Racecourse Road and one more in Basveshwar Nagar. And if you have any queries about how to go about the exam, how to prepare, what materials you need to refer, so such things and all, you can contact any one of us.
Members, this is a great opportunity. You can directly ask your queries with our Vice Chairperson as well as with the Hemant Kumar sir. Jayalakshmi said that thank you very much, madam.
Thank you. Hemant, can we go into the subject for a while, for half an hour? At least
Yes, madam.
approaches or any kind of thing, so that no, because
Okay, want to understand valuation related things. So there are 3 approaches which I was talking about, either it may be international valuation standards or Indian valuation standards. There are 3 approaches. One is the income approach, 2 market approach, 3 cost approach. These are the 3 approaches where valuation approaches are there. So if we want to take up any type of assignments, first we have to understand overall. I'll give you overall scenario for the young valuers who want to do the valuation profession. So first and foremost, once you clear your examination and start your profession as a valuer, so first and foremost, if you get any leads, any calls for doing evaluation related works, the first question is what purpose? First question is what purpose for valuation is concerned. We discussed more than 15, 16 different avenues for doing valuation. Each situation is unique, each situation is different, and valuer has to understand very clearly, categorically, what is the purpose of the valuation. Once you understand the purpose of the valuation, then we have to, based on the purpose only, your premises and your basis will be calculation. You have to decide your valuation. Once you decided what exactly you want for basis, on the basis you want fair value or fair market value, because different legislation, for example, insolvency, bankruptcy code, in the case of CARP process, you want to do valuation for fair value and liquidation value. And in the case of the CRP process was filed, then it's moved into the liquidation process. If at all required any further valuation, the valuer required to do a valuation called realizable valuation. So depend upon the situation, depend upon the requirement of the basis, the situation will be changed. So valuer has to understand what is the basis of the valuation, and after that, what is the premises, whether it's a going concern or it's a liquidation, or what is the situation of the particular thing we has to understand. Once he understands this particular basis on this, then he has to understand what is the background of the situation, background knowledge of the business. What we have in normal value auditing standards, we understand the knowledge of the business. The same way, we have to understand the knowledge of the, you may not expect into that, then the IPPE also come out with some guidelines saying that what is the procedures to be adopted before finalizing your valuation report. So the basis will be like, after understanding the basis, premises, we have to understand the what is the types of the industry and how the industry having influence, internal, external, we call it, and what is the SWOT analysis, and we have to do business analysis of the particular thing, how significantly factors of internal, external influence for doing evaluation. After understanding the particular thing, then we have to go for the collecting the information, started the process of the information. Before all, first, the moment you get the call, and after understanding the requirement, you should get the engagement letter very clearly. The engagement letter is as per the valuation standards also made it very clearly. You have to make your engagement by writing very clearly with the minimum contents of mutual understanding of what are the things we are going to, including the stage of reporting, including up to the stage of reporting, all things has to be categorically has to mention and gathered and typed into that engagement letter. And based on that, the entire process of collecting the information from the
So there is a question.
different source of information. Then you have to decide that what. Yeah. No, I'll conclude and I'll take this question.
Yeah, please.
I'll conclude this topic and then. So based on this external information, then he has to decide that what is the requirement of this thing, source of information, and after getting the source of information, and your audit process has to be started, and valuation has to be done, and calculation has to be done, and based on all, then there is a requirement that all three approaches has to be tested, and we have to be decided which approach or combination of 2-3 approaches depend on the parameters of the valuation standards. We have to conclude, and we have to discuss with the clients. We should not share the ultimate conclusion or final number, but we have to share the information. Clarification from the client can be get it done after understanding the requirements, after understanding the things. Then it should be summarized and it should be put up in a proper valuation report format, which we are discussing all contents as per as given by the what we discussed so far. Then finally, report has to be finalized and conclusion has to be issued. And all valuation reports required a due number, being a chartered accountant. Then only you can be a registered valuer. Even it's not related to chartered accountant profession, but still being a mother profession of or qualification as a registered valuer is a chartered accountant. ICAI clarified that all valuation reports are required a UDN number. So with that, the entire process of the valuation will be done. So one more question, I think. What is that?
Sir, actually, there are 3-4 questions, sir. Can you share your email address to guide us? There's a question from one of the speaker. Then from Shiva Shankar, if a resident Indian wants to buy shares of Indian company held non-resident, what is the process in FEMA as well as in income tax?
If resident Indian wants to buy shares of Indian company held non-resident, okay, what is the procedure FEMA as well as the income tax? Very good. So as far as Income Tax Act is concerned, share transfer, talking about a separate section which required valuation, listed, unlisted, again has to be bifurcated, and 11U will be taken care. As far as FEMA is concerned, the valuation has to be done as per the internationally accepted valuation standards. There is a big task in today's valuation profession is concerned, because FEMA rules talking about international valuation standards, which is certified, which is recognized by the merchant bankers, a chartered accountant, cost accountant. As far as income tax is concerned, the valuation is done by if it is an unlisted shares under 11UA, if it is a DCF method, only by a merchant banker, and if it is a other than that standard method, which 11UA, A plus B plus the formula is given by the Income Tax Act. If you want to follow, then you have to follow as far as the chartered accountant can also use the competent authority to the valuation. And one more question, I believe, what is the journal and information channels are advisable to help valuers do valuation in the professional way? Sir, journals are regularly, definitely any journals or books which always update our knowledge. Sir. IBBI issuing journals monthly, bi-monthly for valuations are concerned. Even ICAI RBOs are issuing, even ICAI journals, ICAI monthly journals also. We are finding frequently the articles related to valuation related professional questions. So definitely it will be value added and taken into the next level, sir. And of late, ICAI issued wonderfully. I had to mention that. I had to thank the valuation committee board, where they issue a 4-5 guidelines note, guideline books, model books are issued, how to do valuation in different scenario, in different legislations. So all these things are definitely value added to us and make us to the next level for when you're doing a practically, when you do evaluation, all these things are absolutely very useful, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hope Shivasankar sir's query is being answered by sir, Hemant sir. What are the journals and information channels are advisable to help the valuer do valuation in a professional way?
Okay, so as I told you, the ICAI is issuing regularly valuation standards, valuation related guidelines. Preferably, if you go to the ICAI website, there are articles are there which are talking about valuation standard boards are issued. I believe 5 or 6 already there in the website, which are talking about how to do the valuation in different legislation. And while doing for example, convertible preferential shares, optionally, these are the practically very difficult tasks in India, which are not addressed in few cases by international valuation standards also. So those type of things are very categorically guiding the ICAI to the members who are doing the valuation. So those articles are definitely useful for us of all chartered accountants who are doing valuation, as well as the registered valuer who are undergoing the valuation related search. So you can find out in ICAI website 4, 5, 6, I believe. Well, time to time they're updating it. So it's very useful. Apart from that, you can go for international valuation standard, IBCS, International Valuation Standard Council. So where in the website you can have a regularly updates in the international level, what sorts of updations in the valuation profession is concerned, we can able to find out that.
Can you suggest any material for exam purposes?
Good. So as far as exam is concerned, 50 hours training, wherever you are taking, undergoing a training. So you kindly take it up the training, and concerned RVO will provide you. And in this gesture, I take a privilege and a proud. If you go to our adjudicating authority, IBBI, go to the website of IBBI under the publication of examination. There is a study material official study material issued by Institute of Valuers. I am one of the instrumental. I am one of the committee member in that where the publication was committed. So we have a wonderful study material free of cost. You can download. Apart from that, we have a private set of books are available at Sitaram & Co. So my suggestion, first round of your reading can be completed with the IBBA study material, as well as after completing that, understand the subject and taking up. And coming to the examination, since people are asking about the examination, so allow to do giving the technique for the examination. It's the online examination of 2 hours, and it's very important. It's a question of your experience. It's a question of testing your more on your practical approach on the valuation. So if you're confident about the question, you can answer the question. If you can't take the chance of using your experience or in a random basis, if you want to do, it is impractical, impossible to clear the examination. So if you use 50 hours of your training and maximum or minimum 30 hours, maximum 50-60 hours, if you could able to spare and read the examination syllabus 3-4 times in a detailed way, in an in-depth way, 50 hours of your reading is quite sufficient for your examination to clear.
Sir, Shivashankar wants his answer to wants his question to be answered again, since he couldn't able to hear you properly. The question is, if a resident Indian wants to buy shares of Indian company held non-resident, what is the process in FEMA as well as in income tax?
Correct. So any Indian citizen transfer to any Indian want to buy shares from a foreign NRI who are holding a shares of Indian company, the requirement is there are 2 complaints has to be complied. One, as per the FEMA should be done by a valuation standard as per as internationally accepted valuation standards by a chartered accountant, cost accountant, or merchant banker, who is the competent authority where the valuation has to be undergone before executing the transaction. And the price which determine the valuer, the price which, because you are making a payment to outside India, it cannot be more than the price which determined by the valuer. Vice versa, if you are selling a property to a foreign shares to a NRA, the price cannot be more than that. So when you're getting a more inward foreign remittance, the price is the maximum limit. And if it is you're paying more to him, is the maximum amount you have to cannot pay more than that. So in other words, in the case of FEMA, the requirement is we have to do a valuation of the particular thing as per the FEMA requirements by internationally accepted valuation standards. As per as internationally accepted valuation, 3 approaches are permissible. Earlier, there is a confusion that only DCF method is permissible, only cost method is permissible. Now it's very clear that all 3 methods are permissible, and valuation has to be undergone by a qualified person who are told you as per the FEMA. As far as income tax is concerned, if it is an unlisted company, you have to go for if it's a listed company as per 11 UF regulations, the valuation procedures. If it's a DCF method, it should be done by a merchant banker. And other than DCF method, a standard method of templates which already given by income tax rules, the same methodology, chartered accountant can also competent authority to certify that. So they had to do the valuation and get it certified as a FEMA, and they had to do after completing the transaction only, they had to upload the forms, consent form with the RBI website, and accordingly transaction has to be executed. I think if you want any further more details, you can mail me. I can guide you further in detail about that.
Yeah. There is a question from Jayalakshmi. Jayalakshmi saying that is Bangalore branch conducts 50 hours of training? I think ma'am can answer this question.
ICAI is not conducting.
Yeah.
ICAI is not conducting training. ICAI RVO is conducting invariably online 50 hours training. So those are interested, check ICAI RVO website. Even the ICAI website, if you go, there is a link website to this particular RVO website. Kindly go to your website and kindly check. So when is the next 50 hours training? If ICAI is not conducting, you can check other RVOs who are started. It's most of the organizations are RVOs are doing online. So you can take 50 hours training online, and physical nowhere, I believe, nowhere still started across the India. It's only online 50 hours training is. Hope I'm correct, madam.
Yeah, one more question. Hemant Kumar sir, email ID, please.
hk@hemanta.co.in. HK, I'll type it in the chat box.
Any other questions, members? How many times the exams are conducted in a year?
Examination is every day, 3-4 sessions across the year. And earlier there is no unlimit for number of attempts. Now off late it was changed, rule was changed recently, and 2 attempts can be right. Then there will be a cooling period for 2 months. then you can write 2 attempts. That means invariably for 6 months, I believe. So invariably you get an attempt of every two attempts you'll get. So kindly check IBP.
Any other question, members? Any other question? No question, it seems. Ma'am, shall we wind up, ma'am? Yeah. That was an interesting and interactive session on valuation in a Q&A model by our Hemant sir and Geeta madam. Thank you very much to both of you for your valuable time and presentation. Requesting Geeta madam to formally propose a vote of thanks and wind up this session.
One more question. Is there any post-qualification experience?
Yeah. Some more questions, sir. Any post-qualification experience required to attend the evaluation exam?
No, not required. There's no post-qualification. CA with 3 years. CA itself is a great experience, high qualification. So CA with 3 years experience, absolutely fair. And I had to register my thanks and appreciation for SIRC committee members, or especially our good and first, as rightly introduced by our friend, that our vice chairman madam, for giving this wonderful opportunity. More than that, thank you very much for patient enough for Rahmanji as well as madam for entire session to be with me. And thank you very much, participants. For I'm sorry, there will be a little bit technology problem locally. I was out actually, so still my throat is not still good. But since I committed, I had to complete my commitment. So in between, I could not able to complete my voice throat. So sorry for that. Anyhow, thank you very much for SIRC for giving this wonderful opportunity.
Sir, with your permission, we are recording this session and we are uploading in the YouTube channel, SIRC YouTube channel, for the benefit of members at large.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, madam.
Over to madam.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Hemant, for accepting our invite, though you are not well, but still, as per your commitment, you have done that. And as we discussed, rather than talking in a monotonous tone, people also will get distracted. So we thought of it having in a interactive mode so that it will be more interesting. And the questions which I know, which I come across, that only I post. That's what I requested the members. If any questions which is left out, they can share. This is the first initiative, the first program of valuation which we experienced in such a way, so it will be more interesting. So henceforth, we would like to do more and more programs like this, and we wish to see more valuers. Because as Hemant said, so many opportunities are there lying ahead. Instead of keeping demotivating ourselves because the opportunities for CAs are getting diluted. No, one side it is getting diluted, another side so many areas are opening up. So we have to wide open our eyes and we have to see around us what are the opportunities around us. So this is one more opportunity, because people know me about me very well. If I can complete valuation course, why can't you people? Definitely anyone can complete. The only thing we need to give here is your time. Only that's it. If you spend your time, at least as Hemant said, 30 hours. So definitely you can do that. And as he said, you can enroll for your exams also beforehand. First, what we did is first we register ourselves for examination, so that after that only we will get that interest to study. Otherwise we don't find time. Anyhow, we always will be busy in one or the other ways. And now onwards, April, May, June onwards, our busy season will get started. So before that, enough time is there for you people to take this 50 hours training course. So you just check in our ICAI website. If opportunity is there, you just enroll for that. First 50 hours of your training should be completed before taking the exam. And in the meantime, you can prepare yourself for the exam also. And as he said, so all materials are available in website itself. You just download and you need to prepare. And one more thing you have to keep in mind is negative marking. So though it is objective type, negative marking is also there. So we have come across the instances, even me also, in CA exam, we failed in 1 or 2 marks. Here 0.5, 0.25 marks we get failed. So we have to be careful in answering the questions because of the negative marks. So while attending this 50 hours program, or before attending 50, if you don't get an opportunity of any batches getting started, so you take this opportunity, you just download the material and you study on your own. And in the meantime, if it get announced, the dates get declared, announced, then you can enroll for that and you can go ahead with it. So as soon as you complete your 50 hours training, you will get a certificate. That is the eligibility criteria for enrolling yourself for the exam. So you enroll exam, then you start studying. At least I think after that, only 1 week or 10 days is more than enough once you complete your 50 hours. So before that, anyhow, you would have completed your studies, your preparation. So this is what I prepared. This is what I followed. So I think this will be useful for you people also. And moreover, I completed during my olden days, those days, this management accountancy subject was not there. So these calculations and all were very new for me. So if I could complete, so in that, when I completed CA those days, this valuation and shares, this concept were not there in our subjects. So when I could complete with all these hurdles, why can't you people? Definitely you can do. So I wish to see more and more values. So once again, and on behalf of SIRC, I would like to thank Hemant for briefing us about the valuation opportunities, and from registration till qualification, and even after qualification also how to give your report, code of conduct and other things. Elaborately he covered all the topics. And I thank the delegates also for actively participating, posing your questions. If anything is there also, you can send your queries to the speaker or any of us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rahman. I thank office also, because before we start, Rahman started in online. And as and when we are getting some problems in technical wise also, he is coordinating with it. So I thank Rahman also for his active coordination. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, thank you. With that, we have come to the conclusion of today's program. We will back with some other program on some other day. Until then, good night from all of us here. Good night.
Vanakkam. Thank you.